What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the Catch fam? It is Lord Big Ed here with the Catch, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams. Going into week 2, we had a great week 1 of performances for kickers, and we are looking for an even better one in week 2. If you are new to the channel, really encourage you to hit that subscribe button and join the best community in all of fantasy football. And also get in those comments too and let us know of any questions you have or if you need any sort of advice about who to start at any position. We will be there ahead of the weekend slate of games to make sure you are ready to go and beat your opponents. And guys, I had to wear my Aaron Rodgers jersey. I'm very sad about the injury, but hey, we have got some other great people to look at. And with that said, let's look at some great players. Let's look at some great kickers, the must-start kickers for week 2. Up at number 1, we have Nick Folk for the Tennessee Titans going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Folk was a dominator in week 1. He had 18 fantasy points, guys, 5 for 5 on his kicks. Hit it from all over. That's what he does. He did this last year for the New England Patriots. He was an absolute locked and loaded kicker every single week for the New England Patriots, and I expect that to continue for 2023. He's going to be a reoccurring player. Listen, he's got the Chargers this week, Cleveland Browns next week. I think he's a dude who just should stay on your teams, to be honest. I mean, Jason Sanders, who played the Chargers last week, had a tremendous day for himself. And I don't really think anything's going to change here. I think the Titans are going to be definitely in a lot of opportunities to kick the ball with Nick Folk because this Chargers defense just gives up a ton of yardage to opposing offenses, as we saw Tyreek Hill and Tua go all over the place, right? So I think this is going to be a good game between the Titans and the Chargers. I think it'll be competitive, even though, I think Titans did not look too outstanding in week 1 from an offensive standpoint, but this is a totally different defense than the Saints, who they played against in week 1. So I think Nick Folk, you got to lock him in to your lineups. And also, just a quick aside, I think Cameron Dicker for the Los Angeles Chargers is also a decent play as well here. Honestly, I think you could definitely put him in your lineups. He's going to be a good player. He had a really good week 1 performance as well. So I want both kickers in this matchup. So definitely, guys, got to target this matchup for both offensive players and kickers. Just mentioned him a second ago, guys. Jason Sanders from the Miami Dolphins. I mean, this is a great kicker attached to a great offense, right? And that's what those are some of the things we really want to go after, right? And I mean, Jason Sanders, he had 13 points his week 1 game. He had 4 extra point attempts, made 3 of them, and he also banged in 3 field goals, guys. And he's been known in his career to hit them from deep as well. But the main attachment, again, guys, it's the offense that he's attached to with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, Raheem Mostert, McDaniel offense. This offense is just absolutely explosive, and I expect him to always have the opportunity. He's going up against the New England Patriots defense. Very, very good defense. They looked good week 1 against the Eagles. I expect them to be much better than the Chargers defense. So I think this offense, which was converting a lot of touchdowns, is going to maybe need to rely a little bit more on Jason Sanders. So I think he's an absolute smash play. But also, if you look at what the Pats did, Elliott for the Eagles went out and had 17 fantasy points, right? So they obviously do give a lot of opportunity for the kicker position, again, because they play a little of that bend but don't break defense, which is really beautiful for the kicker position, guys. So Jason Sanders, he's a locked and loaded must play. I think he's going to have 2 really strong weeks to follow up that Los Angeles Chargers week 1 debut. Next week, he's got Denver, so that could be another exciting one. And then the week after that, he's got Buffalo, guys. So we could see some fireworks from the kicker position through my man, Jason Sanders. Up next, we got Jake Moody, 23 years old, but I tell you what, his age does not speak to the man of wisdom that he has, because this guy dominated in his week 1 debut. He had 14 fantasy points against the Steelers. The 49ers look incredible. They truly do look like one of those teams that is going to definitely be in the Super Bowl mix. That's not a huge surprise. Shanahan runs his ship tight. You've got Brock Purdy, you've got Ayuk, you've got Debo, you've got Christian McCaffrey, you've got George Kittle. You got so many weapons, but don't forget about the main weapon, Jake Moody, guys. 3 field goals he banged in. He hit it from all over, guys, and that's critical. But he also targeted that 40 to 49 range, which I think the 49ers are typically lined up in a lot because their offense is so dang efficient. We saw Robbie Gould for years be super productive at the kicker position for the 49ers. Mr. Jake Moody steps in Robbie Gould's shoes. He's a legend. He's a myth. We're going to miss Robbie, right? But let's welcome in Mr. Moody, because I think Moody's going to be an absolute gem at the kicker position going forward, guys. And if you look at this too, I mean, yes, he's got the Rams this week, but then he's got the Giants, the Cardinals. I mean, these are weeks where the 49ers, in my opinion, are going to roll these teams, and they're going to do it in high fashion. And I think Jake Moody's going to hang around for the ride. He's going to knock in a bunch of extra points and knock in a bunch of field goals, guys. So lock him into your lineups, pick him up on the waivers because he's available everywhere. Mentioned him a minute ago, guys. Jake Elliott for the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending losers in the Super Bowl. Shout out all the Eagles fans out there. Shout out Benny Boy. Listen, guys, Jake Elliott has been a great kicker for a very long time. He's a tremendous player. Some of my issues with Jake over the history has really just been because the Eagles sometimes go for it on fourth down. Sometimes they get a little crafty. Sometimes they get a little wild, and they don't rely on their kicker that much. But, guys, week one performance against the New England Patriots, 17 fantasy points. He was well needed, right? I mean, he absolutely crushed me in a fantasy matchup. I did not want to play against him at all. I think Jake's a good player. I think Jake's a really good player. We need to see how this Eagles offense continues to thrive because they did look like they got slowed down a lot by that Patriots defense week one. Maybe they relied a little bit more on Jake than they're going to against the Minnesota Vikings, for crying out loud. They do not have a great defense. Definitely not a Patriot-style defense. I mean, they let Baker Mayfield carve them up. But I do think there's a lot to be said for the fact that you can tie yourself to a great kicker for a great team, and you're going to get a lot of opportunities because this offense is going to be driving all over the place against this Minnesota team. Last year, when the Vikings and the Eagles played, very competitive matchups. I think it's going to be kind of similar. I think the Vikings are going to be trying to rebound here, and I think the Vikings and Eagles, there should be a decent amount of points, and I want shares of my man Jake Elliott. And then after this, they've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Commanders. So you could definitely hang around with my man Jake for a little bit, guys, because Washington Commanders, I know, for instance, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, stronger defense, Jake's going to be more needed. Last kicker I'm going to mention here, guys, Chase McLaughlin, the old Indianapolis Colts alumni. He had a short stint with us, guys, but I loved him. I loved him because this dude can bang it from deep. He's one of the best deep kick bangers, in my opinion. Not really, but he is electric at the deep shots, guys. But Chase McLaughlin is funny. Is one of my underdog bets. I knew he was going to hit the over on his kicking points, guys, because this dude just good. He's underrated. He's going to be available everywhere, so I highly encourage you to go after him in some of those deeper leagues, or if you're looking for kind of a kicker to change it up that's not already mentioned on this video, guys. But he had 10 fantasy points against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bucs looked better than we expected, right? The defense definitely looked better. Mentioned on the Must Start Defense video. If you haven't seen it yet, go take a listen. But also, guys, the offense did look better too. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield, even. This offense moved the ball and going up against the Chicago Bears. Man, that defense for Chicago is putrid. I don't even know how to say the word, but they're miserable. They're terrible. It's a gross defense in Chicago. I think the Bucs are going to be able to move it on them. And I think my man Chase McLaughlin is definitely going to get a ton of chances to hit it through the up post against the Chicago Bears. So I'm putting Chase McLaughlin in the lineup for sure. I think he's a great play. And hey, maybe target those underdog over on the field goal points as well, guys, because he is always underrated week over week and he always over delivers. With that said, guys, that'll do it for today's video. Like I said at the top, really encourage if you hit that subscribe button and join the best community in all of fantasy football. And really want you to get in those comments too so we can interact during the week and I can answer any questions that you might have or give you any sort of advice in terms of who to start at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, or defense, just to get your teams right for the weekend, guys. And I also want to hear, now that week one's done, I want to hear how you did in week one. Where are your overreactions at? Where are your underreactions at? How are you feeling about fantasy football? What is your sadness about Aaron Rodgers if you owned Garrett Wilson, for example? I want to hear it all, guys. Get in those comments so we can chat it up. But with all that said, this has been the Must Start Kickers for week two, and you saw it here first at the catch.